What's the scariest space? Fact, mystery, in your opinion? The sheer distance between things. It's scary and somewhat depressing. It often blows my mind when I look up at two stars that look super close together and realize they are probably just as far apart from each other as they are to us. When you look up at the night sky, in any urban areas or those with sufficient light pollution, the stars you see, think the constellations and other bright stars, with the exception of the super bright blue A-type stars, they are usually no further than 500 light years away. The biggest, brightest, non-A-type star in our typical night sky is also one of the biggest discovered in our galaxy, Betelgeuse. At 541 light years from Earth is it the furthest star in the Orion constellation. Those A-types I mentioned can be seen to about 2,000 light years away. Our galaxy is between 70,000, main core of stars and the limbs, and 150,000, the outliers before you get to the clouds, other galactic remnants from old collisions, light years across. Only seeing those stars that are 500 light years in radius gives us less than 1% of our galaxy to light up our night. Space is unimaginably huge. Yeah, most of the universe is just blackness. Very grateful to be here on Earth. Earth is our home, and it's incredibly amazing that from all the places we could have, we made it to the one that allows us to live, and is also very beautiful. Earth is our dear home, we should protect it more. If we didn't grow up here, we wouldn't be in a position to think how amazing it was to grow up here. Either we'd have a wildly different biological structure suited for a very different habitat, or we wouldn't exist at all. Astronomer here. There are a lot of things posted here that are not really likely to happen anytime soon, or affect your life on Earth much. So, if you want something to worry about, may I introduce you to the Carrington event of 1859. Basically, Carrington was a scientist who noticed a flash from a huge cluster of sunspots, which was the biggest coronal mass ejection from the sun ever recorded, aka a ton of material ejected from the sun at high speeds. It hit Earth within a day. Aurora were seen as far south as Hawaii. Wires on telephone poles burst into flame, and telegraph operators even reported contacting each other when not connected. If a similar event were to strike Earth today, it would cause billions of dollars in damage, because blown transformers are super hard to replace, and a lot of satellites wouldn't be able to handle it. And it goes without saying, you'd have a serious radio blackout for a bit until it ended on a ton of essential frequencies. The crazy thing about the Carrington event, though, is we really have no idea how often such events happen. But we do know that in 2012 there was a Carrington-level solar flare that barely missed Earth. Here's one closer to home. The Kessler effect is the theory that a single destructive event in low Earth orbit could create a cascade where satellites break up into tiny fragments, taking out other satellites, breaking up into smaller fragments, and so on, until the Earth is completely surrounded by a massive cloud of tiny flying death shrapnel, which would make leaving this planet almost impossible. If you look up how much space debris there is already up there and how many satellites currently orbit, plus the continued growth of the commercial space industry, I think about it a lot. You should read Seven Eves. It could get worse. Seven Eves takes it to the extreme. Great book. The concept is also explored on a much smaller scale in Peter F. Hamilton's Fallen Dragon. It's not even one of the main points of the story, but basically a planet purposely creates a Seven Eves-like event using an asteroid, meaning that while they can't leave for thousands of years, no one else will be able to get in either. The Bootes Void, an area of space where there should be 50,000 or so galaxies, compared to other areas of the same size, but there's only about 60. Could just be empty space for some unknown reason, or it could be an ever-expanding intergalactic empire using Dyson spheres. Also, I think it appears to be growing, but that could just be galaxies moving away from the void. Edit. So it turns out it's 2000, and obviously it's not gonna be aliens, but the theory is still cool AF. This visual that either shows how slow light speed is, or how vast space is, depending on which way you look at it. I've seen videos showing the scale of the universe before, but this one really hit home for some reason. The speed of light, the fastest speed possible, looks painfully slow when you look at it in the context of even a fraction of our solar system. We're stuck here, aren't we? Edit. This genuinely seems to trigger some people, so here's a warning. May cause existential dread. Some stars are even bigger than the distance between Mars and us. Imagine, it takes light some time to travel the object producing it. It's crazy. This video made me feel dead inside. Deep space stuff always scares me because, like, WTF is going on here? How can something make me so upset I cry when I am just on a rock hurtling through nothingness? Why would I even exist? How can I be munching on hummus at 2:59 surrounded by unimaginable stretches of pure void and writing about it with a phone? What the f? Mobile. Black holes. Say one heading straight towards us was discovered, we'd be completely fucked, right? Very little we could do. To put it in perspective, it's exactly the kind of thing we'll never know about. Because if there was one heading straight toward us, we would be so unequivocally fucked. The absolute best case scenario is to just engage in global information suppression and murder anyone who finds out, so that the rest of the population don't descend into whatever chaos realizing we're all gonna die and there's nothing that can be done to stop it would occur. I think the only thing we could do is literally move the planet and/or solar system out of its way. That's the most realistic thing we could do. I can't accept the fact that there is no end in space, but if there is indeed an end, then what's beyond it? I'm stuck in absurdity. Edit. In the numerous answers I've received, the one that seems to come back the most is, the universe is curved. You would end up back where you started. Seems fair enough. Then again, that wouldn't mean there is no limit. On the contrary, that would just mean we are trapped in, or on the surface of, a sphere. But there is still a limit to this sphere. So the question remains, what's beyond it? Gamma ray bursts. We could be hit by one of these with very little warning, and if it was reasonably close, in universal terms anyway, could wipe us out rapidly or cause a ton of damage. Dark matter, dark energy. The fact that about 95% of the universe is made up of matter we can't see or detect is pretty unsettling to think about. Also, while not a fact per se, I like to think that perhaps the answer to the Fermi paradox is that there are billions of advanced alien life forms out there, but they are physically unable to reach us due to two technological limitations. Perhaps interstellar transport is only theoretical, and any aliens capable of reaching us are unable to do so in an acceptable length of time. Proxima Centauri may take 25 years for unmanned spacecraft to reach us, going 20% the speed of light, but perhaps it's impossible to transport actual life at these speeds without dying. So advanced civilizations have realized the futility of trying to contact other species and have simply given up. Been searching for a comment saying gamma ray bursts. I remember when I was taught about them, I was gonna shit myself LMO. What was before the Big Bang? I think it is just impossible for a human to comprehend pure nothing or infinity. I myself had a stroke at age 9 due to a ruptured vertebral artery and lost a third of my visual field. I can confirm that it is not black. A good analogy is, it is like what you see behind your head. On the other hand, infinity is so large that if you spent your whole life writing a 1, then zeros on paper, that insane number would still be 0% of infinity. I just think there is no way to fully understand the universe, and there never will be. This is why even ancient societies explain things with gods, because they didn't understand how the reality we live in started, and I don't think we ever will. I think everything is terrifying about space, and I f***ing love it. But one thing it scares me a lot. It's if space is infinite, imagine what kind of gigantic monster can be in there. My favorite debate I've ever had with a friend is about gigantic space monsters. I argue that since space is infinite and we don't understand much about it, that there's a good chance that there's a gigantic space monster that's just a massive head that eats planets to live. We went back and forth for like 15 minutes. Edit, by the way, I won that debate. But we do know a lot about physics. I think you could apply physics to determine if a massive spacefaring organism existed. Off the top of my head, I'd say no. Nutrients are too sparse in space to sustain any living creature. But it's fun to speculate. Since the universe is expanding and stars and galaxies are moving away from each other, it's possible that civilizations that spring up in the far future with lonely stars will see an empty sky. Their civilizations will grow and learn, but they will never know the universe that once was. We live in a spectacular time period where we can actually look back in time and see. The early universe, future civilizations won't have that luxury. They'll believe that the universe is, and always was, dark, dead, and empty, aside from their small island of light. With that in mind, you have to wonder what stellar phenomena may have populated the universe billions of years ago, but are now too far away for us to ever detect. There is literally no end to the universe. No matter how long we study it, there will always be stuff that we will never know, just because of the vastness of space. There could also be multiple universes, which is unbelievable considering that we know so little about our own. The Great Attractor is kinda ominous. There's an exoplanet with wind that's many times the speed of sound and that rains glass. Another exoplanet that has spent time inside its star. There's a sort of fear that we aren't alone in the universe. Chances are anything we meet won't have remotely similar emotional spectrums that we have. Then there's the horrifying notion that we are alone in that infinite blackness, that we're just a fluke of chemistry that will probably never happen again. Edit. More people have died on Earth than have died on the sun. Spook. 1. We are the only intelligent beings in the entire universe. 2. We aren't the only intelligent beings in the entire universe. Both are equally terrifying, yet one of them is true, and we don't even know which one that is. I think what's scarier is 3. We weren't the only intelligent beings in the entire universe, but we are now. Something killed them all, and we don't know what or how. Maybe they annihilated themselves. Maybe something or someone wiped them all out. We don't know. All we know is that we are alone now. It's quite possible, likely even, that we'll never leave this solar system, because even getting up to a modest fraction of the speed of light, travel elsewhere just takes too damn long. Pretty much all science fiction handwaves this, with jump drives and so on. But any kind of device like that would violate causality and is fairly unlikely to be possible. Our ancestors probably thought that the moon is unreachable, yet we landed on it. The idea of rockets would be laughable at their time, just like the idea of interstellar travel is laughable to us now. It's bigger than anyone could ever hope to comprehend. It scares me how insignificant we are. We can all just die out, and the universe wouldn't care. Yet we keep arguing if it's bad to have sex with a person with the same testicles or different skin color, like life matters on it. Not scary exactly. More unfortunate, if anything. But we'll probably never be able to properly communicate with alien species. Given the amount of distance between the planets of our solar system, I'd assume the distance to other universes and galaxies is too far to think about right now. If we receive and send a message right now, by the time we hear a reply back, we would probably be a completely different government and societal system. We would just be constantly introducing ourselves. The fact that an asteroid could come at any time, and even though we have the technology to tell us that an asteroid is about to impact Earth, what can we really do about it? Nothing. We can do nothing. We can just sit here, with the media stations telling us what will happen, telling our friends and loved ones goodbye, praying, etc. It sucks. Why do we have the technology that tells us our inevitable doom is days or even moments away, but no technology to possibly stop it? Perhaps this isn't very fitting, as I don't think it's necessarily scary, but you know the multiverse theory? For those who don't, it essentially says that there's a whole bunch of universes, some similar, some different. If there's something that should exist on Earth but doesn't, then it exists in an alternate universe. Spider-Man is real in an alt universe, etc. But if the universe is infinite, then wouldn't everything possible happen within this infinite time-space? Is the universe itself the multiverse? What if there's another Earth way, way, way far out there that's entirely made of Legos, with Lego people? And if the universe is the multiverse, then is science as we know it unreliable outside of our immediate area? Do physics work completely differently further out? Work by different formulas? What if there's living creatures out there that don't have a single cell in their bodies? Things that exist without a single atom? I mean, aren't black holes themselves kinda that already? Who says reality as we know it applies to the entire universe? What if Thanos is actually real somewhere way out there? What if dreams are just somehow seeing alternate worlds? What if that King Kong-sized Buzz Lightyear that kidnapped me in a nightmare I had when I was really young actually exists? Again, maybe not super scary, but I felt it was at least somewhat relevant. A few people have said this, but just the size of space is creepy to me. That far away, but what almost depresses me more that unlike in Stargate, I will never be able to travel to any of it. Would love to see what's out there. But endless space could equal endless possibilities. Could be bad, but it could be amazingly good. Strange matter. It might not exist at all, but some scientists believe it's what's inside neutron stars. If this is true, neutron stars can collide and send strange matter particles flying through space. It's also theorized that strange matter might turn everything it touches into strange matter. If that's true, any microscopic amount of strange matter that touches our atmosphere would quickly turn Earth and everything on it into strange matter, destroying all life and nearly every remnant of civilization. And there wouldn't be a damn thing we could do about it. Again, this is all theoretical. Strange matter might not have such a massive effect, and indeed it might not exist at all. But there is a non-zero chance that an undetectable microscopic particle is flying toward Earth ready to eradicate everyone and everything. You've seen the Kurzgesagt video, haven't you? I was lucky enough to interview some astrophysicists, some of whom actually study neutron stars, and I mentioned this to them. Sounds depressing, but a lot of this stuff isn't actually taken seriously in the academic community, and is effectively treated like sci-fi. The idea that there is some strange matter inside a neutron star? Totally valid, and there's tons of maths and research happening right now to investigate. The idea that it could eradicate everyone and everything? Incredibly unlikely, and very little actual research or evidence to back it up, to the point that this kind of stuff isn't taken seriously by academics. A fact from a show I used to like: the main problem is pressure. There isn't any. So don't hold your breath or your lungs will explode. Blood vessels rupture. Exposed areas swell. Fun fact: the boiling temperature of water is much lower in a vacuum, which means that your sweat and your saliva will boil, as will the fluid around your eyes. You won't notice any of this because 15 seconds in, you've passed out as oxygen bubbles formed in your blood. And 90 seconds in, you're dead. Edit: it's Doctor Who. The show is Doctor Who. The coldest place in the universe is not the Boomerang Nebula, or even in space. No, it's the inside of a D-wave quantum computer at 15 millikelvin. Coldness in space is so funky because there's a limit. Like, we know how cold the coldest thing can be. There's nothing in all of existence colder than absolute zero. Nothing. One component of quantum computing, which obviously we don't have one yet. Lots of ideas propose using MOTs, magneto-optic traps, that can contain an exceptionally small number of atoms in a vacuum chamber, think only a few million, at millionths of a Kelvin. The Bose-Einstein condensate, the Nobel for 2001 in physics, basically used an exceptionally flawless series of MOTs, filtering the slowest, coldest, from one MOT to another. They use laser cooling by slightly detuning 6 lasers that converge at the center of the chamber, Doppler offset, and gradually slowing, cooling, the atoms. A magnetic gradient positions the atoms into the correct quantum state to further interact with the lasers and converge into a small area. 15 millikelvin is nowhere close to the coldest matter in the universe. And I'm curious where you found that number. I've worked in an undergrad lab that consistently achieves temperatures much colder than that. MOTs are super commonplace in the optics field now and are utilized for all kinds of quantum experiments, quantum computing being one of many. The universe is expanding quicker than light speed, so galaxies at the edge of our current visible universe will disappear. Eventually, everything will move out of our visible universe, and the sky will be starless. Astronomer here! This isn't quite true. All galaxies not bound to ours are indeed no longer going to be visible in the far future. However, the stars in the galaxy are gravitationally bound, and that is stronger than dark energy, so we would have stars in the sky. That said, eventually all the stars will burn out because you run out of hydrogen, so there is that. It's always so sad to think of the last stars burning out. A universe once filled with activity and light will one day die a long, slow, cold death. The last star will perish one day, and with it, the last light of the universe. Okay, so apparently these maps turned out to be inaccurate, but still kinda cool to know anyway. Besides, at least if we do destroy ourselves one day, at least there will be some small memory of us out there for someone to find. We have sent out maps of how to find the Earth based on maps that show where our sun is, relative to pulsars. If anyone finds our probes, it's likely they will be able to find us. I don't think it's scary that alien race will find these and come to destroy us. I think any species with the technology to seek us out would be completely unthreatened by what we have. What I fear is they gift us technology and we use it to destroy ourselves. Edit: if anyone's curious, the pulsar map was first sent out in 1972 on the Pioneer 10 space probe. It has been sent out a further 3 times. The 3rd and 4th times were on the Voyager space probes as part of the Voyager Golden Record. This included lots of images and audio of the human race. Carl Sagan wanted to put a Beatles song on it, but hilariously, EMI declined on copyright grounds. Thank you for watching. Write comments, put likes. Do not forget to watch other videos.